gosh, they're joining so fast I can barely catch up. Hello, gorgeous people. Okay, I knew Joel would have a lot of people here. Hold on one second. Okay, you guys all know the rules, right? Quirky questions only, nothing grown up, nothing we can find on a basic Google search. You will see my eyes roll to the top of my head. Fun. And if there's anyone you can have fun, it's Joel. Oh my God, I need to talk about that outfit, by the way, talking about fun. And this is like the king of talent and authenticity and fun. And on that note, the Love Boat, audiobook cruise. Where the hell did you get that idea? It is inspired. I'd introduce you and everything, but everyone knows you. We all want to be you. And he won another award today, you guys. We'll get to that later. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, first of all, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited. And I want to show you my mug. Okay, so I just got this. One of my students sent me a mug, right?
Okay.
And it's because it's Cup of Joe, so I'm sharing. I don't drink coffee, but here's my coffee mug, right? So they know I'm a Disney freak. So new Ariel, right? Awesome. Get this. My voice is my treasure. My voice is a treasure.
Oh,
How awesome is that?
I
Anyway,
love it.
so
Okay.
so cruise. Um,
Yes.
Rich and I started cruising for the first time about 5 years ago. I had never had any interest because I grew up in Bermuda. I'm used to beaches and like, why do I want to go to them and that kind of thing. And I think that, but I was so wrong. It is such a brilliant way to kind of turn off and relax and just sort of live in this bubble where everything is taken care of for you and you don't have to make decisions. And it's just marvelous. And we really loved it. And we started thinking about the fact, because they do have events, they do have conventions, they do have workshops on these boats. And, for about a year, we'd seriously been thinking it would just be a fantastic thing to do. And so right after APAC, Terry, I can never say Terry's last name. Schneibelt, I can never say it. She's brilliant. I can never say her last name.
I'm
Anyway,
not jumping in here because
Terry mentioned in a Facebook post, she was like, why hasn't anybody ever done this? And we were like, we are, hold on. And so we were like, oh shit. So after like a week, after a year of like gathering information, and Rich had folders full of shit and whatever, we were like, okay, we got to do this now. So we went go on it, and the response has been amazing. We've already got about 50 people signed up, and it's a year away.
Wow.
We've got, and what I really wanted to do, and this was important to me because I've been lucky enough to be a panelist and a coach at a lot of really special workshops and events and conventions. And I, first of all, didn't want to take away thunder from anybody else. And I also wanted to offer something different.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing very carefully is we're looking after newbies, and we're making sure those newbies are, every person who has done like under 10 books is going to have a Zoom call with me before we even disembark
Oh,
or
that's
embark, before
lovely.
we even embark. And we're going to we're going to have a special like newbie panel that like takes care of like all the, how do I get onto ACX? What do I have on my website? Like the basic stuff. So they're really looked after and feel really welcome. But what I also really wanted to do was having been to having done a lot of these panels, I find that if you're a repeat offender and you support these events over and over, you can be hearing the same thing over again and
Hmm.
not, and the social aspect is never diminished. But I think sometimes it's a challenge to make sure the educational aspect
Yeah.
doesn't sometimes become repetitive. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to dive deeper into specific genre than I've heard a lot of times. We're going to be talking very specifically about horror. We're going to be speaking very specifically about fantasy and paranormal and lit RPG and what those specific needs are. with experts in those fields. You know, I'm gonna have a meeting with Sean Pratt where I say to him, you know, okay, what don't you talk about in your class? What is the stuff that you never get to actually get into?
Yeah.
So people are really feeling looked after and challenged. And the other thing we're doing is making sure that when we bring on board the publishing representatives, and we're at the point now where we're working on announcing some more because our numbers grew. When we bring them on board, they're not just there as a presence, they're actually coaching. So people are getting
Okay.
one-on-one time with those casting people and getting feedback from them about where they think their career should go, what they hear in their work about what to target. And you know, Jessie Bickford has just been the hugest from Blackstone. She's been the biggest cheerleader of this. She just thinks it's a fantastic idea. We're working on bringing some more, you know, really exciting publishers from the indie publishing spectrum. We've got Jock from Audio Flow and Joe, who was the creator of Fireside Horror. Like, and I'm really working to make sure that it feels fresh, it feels challenging, and it is it's not taking away from other really special events that I'm a part of and I
Yeah.
support and I love, you
Yeah.
know. But in terms of like having this wonderful environment where, you know, your drinks are all taken care of, your food is all taken care of, your entertainment is all taken care of, and just be able to either be there and focus on the work, or if you want to skip a workshop and go sit and sip a pina colada on the pool deck, that's fine. You
Is there a
know,
captain's table, like a real captain's table on a cruise?
I don't know. There might be like a captain's dining room where they invite like VIPs or something. I will endeavor to find out because, you know, I think
Jamie Queen Roosevelt says, yes, there is. You've got to find out for sure, because that's something.
Jamie is a queen. Jamie is a cruise expert. Jamie
Oh,
is
okay.
a hardcore cruiser. So yes, I have never been invited to the captain's table. I will work on now. Maybe that
And
now that we're maybe dragging 50 people on board with
right, you
us,
should.
maybe we'll get an invite.
And do people dress up for dinner? I
Uh,
mean, of
there
course, I'm
there
interested in all the courses as well.
there are two nights where I believe it's two nights on the cruise out of the 5 night cruise that evening like dressing up in evening wear is optional. So people absolutely can do that. You do for dinner on this particular cruise with on the Summit. You have to wear like a button-down shirt to a guy has to wear a button-down shirt to dinner. Like you can't wear flip-flops and a tank top. But it's so people if we decide we want to have a dress up night, we certainly can do that, yeah, which would be fun.
So you're socializing. I'm trying to picture this. All these narrators hanging out, socializing, and you can just like go off with your best buddy narrator and hang out on the deck in the moonlight with your
Yeah.
glass
Yeah.
and do people greet you when you come on the boat
Yes, absolutely. And
like Julie?
there is definitely a Julie. We're all grouped together for dinner, which is great.
Yeah.
Because sometimes on cruises you get sat next to a complete stranger, and that always I'm the introvert in me is always like, so we're all going to be together at like in like a happy cluster for our dinner meal. Um, and then, you know, for the other meals of the day, there's a gazillion choices and options. You can just eat yourself till you die. Like, and the food is great. Like
That's like
we we
heaven.
we did this specific cruise. We've been on this boat twice. We did this specific itinerary just last year to make sure it would work for what we wanted. And they have special like meeting spaces and convention spaces that normally you never see if you're a regular cruiser that are designed for this kind of thing. So we'll have our own spaces. It's gonna be great.
And
And
do you get it when you get off when they stop at ports? Do you
yeah.
get to go off and go into like wherever that is and go shopping?
Yes, absolutely. And what we've done is we've made sure that we have 2 port days, the day we're in Nassau and the day we're in Cozumel. We've made sure that there are no workshop events until about 3 in the afternoon so that people can go ashore and do excursions if they want to. And there's a bunch of excursions that are available that, Rich, who literally became a travel agent in order to do this. Like
Yes, because
he,
Rich is telling me about the martini bar. And
yeah,
Laura says, don't forget the midnight buffets. Oh, and Rich says the 24-hour room service? Really? Have you
yeah.
planned your outfits? Oh my God, I so would have planned my outfits by now.
Daniela, I want you to come. Why are you not? Why? You've got to come. You've just got to come.
When is this, 2024?
It's April 2024. Come on.
I'm in
And
the
there's,
UK though. I mean, where are people catching this thing?
they're coming from all over. And there's no APAC that year, so it's a really, you need a chance to socialize with your fellow narrators and have unlimited drinks and but we would love to have you. But
You know
it's
exactly what I would wear for
and
the
so
first
and
evening meal.
that's the most important thing. That is the most important thing. But we're gonna but also Rich is gonna try and organize some group excursions. It's like when we go to Cozumel, they have like really cool Aztec ruins, and so he's gonna organize like a special group for just us, hopefully, to go and see the ruins and all that stuff. And then and so when we get back in the afternoon, we'll do the late afternoon into the early evening, workshop sessions for the port days. And there's coaching every single day. So if you're there, you're going to get to be with at least four different coaches and casting directors, and we're working on making it more as we shuffle the schedule and everything. So but it's going to be, I think that aspect of it is going to be really special. Jock is going to be casting a multicast book from the people that are there on the cruise. She's got a multicast project for Audio Flow that she is going to specifically, put together from the people that meet her there and audition for her. So that's amazing.
I bet you get some narrators falling in love. I bet you get new couples out of this.
I hope so.
This is like perfect setting. And how long is it?
Audiobooks at Sea Babies. It's
Yeah.
It's 5 days. 5 days and nights. We depart out of Miami. Yeah, it's April 2020, April 6th to 11th, 2024. We've got it's Rich. Rich is the brains behind everything, my husband. There's payment plans, so it's not stressful. It's really, and also it's very cost comparative. It compares in cost very favorably to other events when you think about especially when you think about the fact that very often you're like, if you're going to APAC, you're paying for food, you're paying for hotel, you're paying for drinks, you're buying people drinks, etc., etc., etc. So, it really is for the amount of stuff that you can experience on the boat, the amount of stuff you don't have to worry about. It's like 15 meals, it's unlimited drinks, it's internet access, and the chance to work with some really amazing genre specialists, casting directors, and coaches. Like I'm very proud of what we put together, and very proud of what we're continuing to put together. And as I said, as our numbers grow, we're adding more and more coaches because it was important for it to remain pretty much a boutique experience where even as our numbers grow, you feel like you're getting very special individual attention, and you're not feeling, APAC was a lot for a lot of people this year. APAC was very sardine oriented.
I have to be honest. There were some weird. There was, for somebody that wasn't at APAC, just looking at the social media, hands up, guys. I just snoozed everyone because it was a lot just on this side. There was some there were they're always the posts from APAC, which is
Yeah.
charming.
And
I've made the best friends in the world. This has been a life change. But this was a bit weird. They were like really intense. Like, this was the reason I was put on Earth. And then the other ones afterwards going, I've got COVID. It's everyone's fault.
well, no, it's and here's
It
the
felt
thing.
intense.
Here's
It
the thing.
felt like,
It
yeah,
was just it was a lot of people who had been waiting a long time to be back together again.
that's what it
And
felt like.
and that's understandable
Yeah.
and viable. And I think that, it'll and one of the reasons why we love the idea of what we're doing is, you can get outside to get literally fresh sea air whenever
Yeah.
you need it. You don't feel cramped. And it's going to be it's going to be really relaxing and laid back and warm and welcoming, and that's our whole goal, and that's why we're working so hard at it to really put it together in a carefully curated way.
And I think
I-
it's that care is going to show, because you can go back to your room, you can take a nap. Somebody, I'm not going to say their name in case they don't want it on YouTube, but I think it's important to leave space for this experience as well, said that APAC crushed my spirit. And
yeah.
it's not, I'm not saying, because a lot of people said it was life-changing and wonderful, and I wasn't there, I can't judge, but
Right.
I do think that it's people had been all relating differently to having felt isolated, and they
Well,
all related differently.
I think if you're an introvert, which I
Yeah,
am,
yeah.
people don't believe I'm an introvert, but I
Yeah,
really
you
am.
do know that I don't believe that for 1 minute. You
Uh,
keep saying it, and I'm like, yeah,
I
okay,
but but well, I can tell you a story about that, but I think that if you're an introvert, it's a lot, and it's hard. So that's why we're sort of creating this experience, because even at other events where there's casting directors there, I find that there's still this temptation to go, oh my God, I have to sit with them at breakfast, or oh my God, I have to get next to them, and oh my God, how do I get my special time with them, and that becomes really stressful. So we wanted to make sure that we're working into the way we're bringing these coaches on board, these publishing representatives, etc. We're bringing them on board in a way, literally on board, in a way that we hope alleviates that frantic stress and worrying about need to make the connection, and
Yeah,
we're going to try and facilitate that connection for you and give that breathing room and that space and that special moment, so that you aren't fixated on it all week and aren't judging yourself. And it's I think that we're really, if it's one thing, Rich and I are now on our, I can't remember, Rich can put in the chat how many classes we've now taught at the Acting for Audio group. But we've had, I think, over 100 people come through Acting for Audio at this point, which is incredible. But we've really tried to create an environment in that class space that is open and supportive and welcoming and free to be silly and free to make mistakes, and that's what we're going to try to bring to this for the people that have maybe done no audiobooks and want to kind of immerse themselves in experience, but
Rich
also
says he thinks it's 13 classes. We should have
13
just done the call with Rich.
we should have. He's the brains. He really
But
is the brains.
there's a point, there's something, can I just interject really
Of
quickly? I don't want to
course.
stop your flow though. But
No.
you reminded me of something because of what that person said about APAC. And I recently took some classes, and there were two of them, and they're different people each class. And the first one, I walked away feeling really invigorated. They were online. I was like, wow, that was amazing, wonderful. The publishers there and everything.
Yeah.
And there were I had friends there, and I felt really rooted with it. The
Mm-hmm.
second class, I walked away thinking, I need to quit this job. And nothing wrong with the
Oh.
people in the class, nothing wrong with that. It was a different crowd of people. Some were very good friends with each other and kind of only talked to their very good
Right.
friends, which people do. And I think that's a shy thing. When you're shy and you've got friends, you talk to them, and you don't, I talk to everyone, but I, as confident as I like to think I am, walked away feeling, as that person said, crushed.
Right.
But I think the key ingredient, I mean, and I'm not discounting the care you're putting in setting up the course, but I think that it's magic, and all joking aside about the Love Boat, is the reason people felt so frantic and freaked out and isolated is because we're all in our heads so much, and that you are adding water. And I know that it sounds a little bit weird, but
No, it doesn't.
that has a massive calming mental impact on people. That makes our
It
animal
does.
selves feel safe.
I will tell you, it's the only time, and I weirdly discovered this. I am not I am from Bermuda. I never went to the beach, right? I never did that. But I have weirdly found that there is no place that I experience where I actually feel my heart rate slow down and my
Yep,
brain empty
yep,
like it does when I let myself just lay on a deck chair on that boat, and and you hear the water going past,
yeah.
and you look up at the clouds, and there's something about that that just lets me center. And I think that, yeah, it feels a little touchy-feely and zen, but I don't think you're wrong. I think that there
It's
is,
what people need because
yeah,
we've been away from nature. I mean, people go and run in a park, but I'm sorry, the last few years going to the park has been like a mad race for survival to get away from the sick people. I
yeah,
mean, it's been like, but if even because I've never had stage fright. I've never not been confident around people. Throw me in a crowd of zillions, and I will usually say the inappropriate thing, but I'll say something.
yeah,
But if even I, in a small class like that, walked away feeling the emotional burden of it, I think it's a sign we need to get back to. I think that's you're giving people a chance to show their best selves in an environment where they can feel safe.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel confident that that's what's going to happen. It's funny, you talked about you not believing I was an introvert thing, and you mentioned before we jumped on the call something about what I wore to the Audies.
Oh, I
And
love that, by the way.
which Rich made, again, Rich being amazing. He made it top to bottom.
Right. We
Um
need Rich on one of these
without
calls.
without a pattern, but the reason we did that is I am terrible at small talk, and I am terrible at um, networking. I'm really bad at it. And I said to him, "Can we make me something where people will want to talk to me?" And he did that, and it was the most incredible gift because people made such a fuss and were so kind, and I literally felt like a Disney princess. I mean, I looked like an aged one,
No, you look like a
but
Disney princess. I saw the
but
picture.
but he gave me that incredible gift of something that people stopped me and started a conversation, or
Yeah.
the people that I knew that I would feel awkward going up to, and because in my head I'm bothering them, they made the eye contact and smiled, and and the opening was there. So yeah, it was super fun to wear, and I'll never forget it, and it was an amazing night. um but he gave me a very, very special gift of conversation and confidence, and that was something, I can never repay him for. It was really, really special. So if that's my advice to anybody who's an introvert in an insane social situation is
Wear a
don't
ball gown.
wear a ball gown.
But see, the thing is, I worry after situations because I literally don't think. I think we're all together to have a party. And like that party girl part of me takes over. And I have the best time of my life everywhere I go. And I
Hmm.
like to think other people do. But then the next few days, the shame. Oh my God, did I
Oh,
really tell that publisher that? Oh my God, why? I was so eager to go to
yeah.
I was so
But
eager to
they
go to my first networking event in London. I accidentally walked onto the wrong floor and I was like, these people are my people. I mean, these people love me. I was within 20 minutes, we were hugging. The speaker came up and I was like, oh my God, the audiobook world really is friendly. This was my first like big
and
event.
it was the wrong.
It was a cult. And I had given them my card because they say, get your card and give it to everyone. They all had my card. I had
Maybe
cult members
maybe they
contacting me.
maybe they needed a manifesto narrated. You never know.
I was so paranoid. I was like
A hu-
afraid to open my
yeah,
door for
yeah.
months.
101 alternate uses for Kool-Aid, narrated by.
Sometimes being an introvert can be a good thing because being an extrovert can get you in trouble.
There you go.
But we're all in it together, aren't we? And I think you'll
Oh yeah,
find that most narrators are introverts. A
yeah.
lot of narrators are introverts.
Oh, absolutely. There's a reason why
Yeah,
we spend time in a box,
talking to
talking
yourself.
talking to ourselves. Absolutely.
Okay, I
Uh,
want to talk about the elephant in the room, please.
yes.
12th award?
12
How
Earphones
the
Awards.
hell do you do this? You're not submitting yourself. You're just like so loved. So like I need to someday make an attempt at winning an award. The only thing I've ever won was men's shaving cream when I was 8 at a raffle. So
Um,
what do you
you know,
do? How do you
well, what I've got to say, I'm very, very fortunate in that, um, my bread and butter in the industry, what the bulk of my work is not really stuff that audiophile has much interest in. It's sort of, uh, very specific genre audience, male romance, which is different than LGBT fiction. And it's not something that audiophile covers a great deal. I mean,
Okay.
they don't cover like, uh, uh, they have started to cover more, which is really, really exciting. Um, but, but it's not something that is their, a big part of their reviewing pie. And when I look at the fact that that is a big percentage of my work, the fact that I have been lucky enough to have that many reviews from them for other things that I've done, and in a couple cases, a few gay romances, that I've been really, really fortunate.
Well,
Um,
I've
and
got to
and
stop you here because you say luck, but you were the like third name I ever heard when I became a narrator. That
oh,
talent wise, because other narrators consider you hugely talented. I mean, I don't know about respect from reviews and listeners. I don't know about all that, but you are admired by almost every narrator I've met for your talent in narration. So I
well,
think talent plays a large part in your case.
I appreciate that deeply. And I'm a weird little critter. I have a strange set of I have a unique set of skills. I have a pretty unique voice. I fall in the Johnny Heller sphere of the way I sound, not the Scott Brick Ray Porter world of where I sound. Um, and and so you've got to celebrate your quirks, capitalize on them, and convince people to look for Joel books. And that's where I've been really, really lucky with some publishers. I have Rin Kraus, for instance, at Spotify. Rin sends me Joel books. Eric Black
Ah,
at Dreamscape sends me Joel books. Jen Lopes, who had just moved to Podium from Harper, she sends me Joel books. And when you find a casting director who sees your, for me, it's my weirdness, right? It's my weird little tools that I have that some other people don't, and they go, that will make this book special if I match this uniqueness with this unique person. Um, and it's magic. And I've been very, very fortunate. And I've been very crazily lucky in that some of the audiophile earphones awards I've won have been for really quirky choices. I mean, there's that rule of never do voices in nonfiction. I did a book about the making of the musical Chicago, and I did everybody's voice from Bob Fosse to Liza Minnelli to Gwen Verdon to, I mean, I did to mobsters from 1920s movies. Like, I broke the rules on that. Another book that I did called August March, I broke the rules on that one too, or what was obviously on the page. And and you know, sometimes sometimes a brave choice is the right one. And
Yeah.
I really encourage that and celebrate it with my students. That I always tell them it's always about the text, it's always about the given circumstances. What is the author giving you? But don't discount your creative voice that can bring those given circumstances to life.
So I want to talk about cruises and training and awards and your place in the industry and what you do. And a very specific thing I'd like to ask you about, your opinion about. Um, a lot of people in the last few months, and Johnny just did a blog post about this. They felt they had dry spells. They felt insecure about things. There
Mhm.
were a lot of feelings in the last few months, and a lot of worries
Yeah,
about external things that are threatening and scarcity and all that. How do you deal with that personally? Did you ever encounter it when you started? Are you now at the point that you're like, I'm just going to plod along and do what I want to do, or I'm successful enough that I've built myself some security? What do you say to people that feel that? And it comes out in different ways, like competitiveness, worry, I'm just going to give up, what's wrong with me? There's so much going around right
right.
now.
Um, you know, I certainly recognize it. I empathize with it. I wouldn't say that, you know, uh, am I able to completely shut out concerns about what this industry might look like in 5 years' time and think it's not going to have changed at all? Uh, no. I mean, I do think about it, and I am someone. I'm a worrywart. Worry is one of my professors at college said, Joel, worry is part of your process. Just try to embrace it and flow through it.
I
Um,
like that though. I like that. I really like that though.
well, if you accept that worry is part of your process, you stop at least beating yourself up for the worry as much.
Yeah.
And you but so and hopefully you can move through it. Sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I'm not. But uh but for instance, I have a student that I've become very good friends with, and I think she is one of the most talented people that I have come across in terms of raw narrator talent. And she has crazy theatrical background, crazy training, like exactly what you would think everyone would want there to be as a foundation to jump into this industry. And she's starting to make headway, but she had a really hard time. And she was feeling a lot of people that were entering at the same level as her were getting farther. And it is really hard. Everybody says this job is a marathon, not a sprint, but sometimes, we're beginning to learn, and it is, I think, it's very brave of those people to share that sometimes even the people that we think of as like paragons in this industry have gaps and have dry spells. And my thing has always been, um, what can I find? What I know I keep saying I know you and you like to grab taglines, and I keep thinking, what tagline is she gonna
Oh,
grab?
well, but I'll tell you the secret. When I ask you the question at the end about what
Oh,
piece of advice, that's where
right.
you're getting your
Okay.
tagline from.
Um, so what new tool can I add to my toolbox that I can use this time to develop? Um, I will sometimes go, all right, I have had a bunch of books come up with minor characters who were Chinese. And the next time I have some time, I want to do like a deep dive so that I can really, really nail down very clearly in my mind, okay, Chinese accent not dialed in, Korean accent dialed in, Japanese accent dialed in. And I can do it and I understand the differences, but I want to be able to really feel good and honor that. And it's a thing where, you know, I think I mean, I'm picking a very extreme dialect, but dialects that you could frequently be cast in, I think, are great things to sort of say this is a new thing I can offer. Um, and and at the and I think coaching, I mean, I'm a coach, so it sounds like I'm plugging for coaching,
No,
but
but we all do. I'm not a coach, and I can be every year I set aside a budget and I
right.
ask myself at the beginning of the year, what do I need to improve on? And I go to a different couple of coaches.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
every year, everyone, like, I can't imagine not
Yeah,
getting coaching.
you want to be challenged, you want to be thinking in a fresh way. Um, but if it's the I think the main thing to remember is just because it's not clicking right now doesn't mean it's you and doesn't mean it's gone away.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not going to come back. And one thing I will say that I speak to a lot of full-time working narrators who are very busy, and their work from publishers comes in waves. I had I had 2 years where my primary employer was Tantor. Now my primary employer is Podium. Last year my primary employer was Harper. So the thing is,
Yeah.
if you're relying on one relationship and that relationship wanes, all you can do is hope to keep coming up with new ways to gain the attention of someone new that may notice and celebrate your talent.
If you look online and someone says, I'm booked through December, what does booked mean? Because whereas me, booked means I'm working every day and I don't have a day off. But whereas some people, I've got a series and maybe I've got book 2 coming up in August and book 3 coming up in December, they're booked through December. Everyone's got different ideas.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you can't
Yeah.
compare.
And
You don't know what you're
right.
comparing.
And exactly. And like I'm booked up to a certain point, but the other thing is that 2 days a week I'm teaching.
Yeah.
I'm like I can't record now 2 days a week. So that, I mean, and it's been the teaching has been incredibly, fantastic for us, and I'm very proud of what we built. And it certainly offsets the not being in the booth, but somebody could ask me when I'm booked to, and I would say, oh, I'm busy until blah.
But
And
also, you're teaching, from what I've heard, that once you teach, that's the step to becoming a master at your craft. Because only when you teach others are you able to see the craft from a fully rounded point of view. So you become better at your craft by virtue of teaching than you would
I
be if you just did it.
I will I will say certainly my students have made me a better narrator, but
Yeah.
what's funny is I now sometimes take longer to get a finished hour done because I'll stop myself and be like, damn it, I would have stopped them. If I'd done that, I missed that. That was a discovery. That was a conditioning force. I didn't have an opinion on that. So I'm almost a harsher critic on myself because I'm holding myself to the standard of I'm like, if they listen to this, they better hear me doing what I gosh darn talk about.
Yeah.
So
I
that can be
love
very
that. I love
um,
that
but
though.
but but yeah, I mean, and there are a lot of people out there that say they're teachers that aren't necessarily teachers, and I'm very lucky in that I was a professional director for 20 years. And when you're a director, yes, you have to learn how to communicate with actors. But the other thing you have to learn what to do is guide them to a successful result in a succinct, time-related, targeted manner.
Mhm.
Because when it's tech week or when it is final dress rehearsal and you have 20 minutes left to give notes on a show and you wish you had 2 hours and you've got to let go, you become adept at finding the most nurturing way to say something that is condensed, concise, and above all, actionable. And that is the thing that I pride myself in as a teacher. I'm specific and I always try to be actionable. And one of the things I will consistently say to my students when they finish working with me one-on-one is, do you know what you need to work on? Do you feel like you've got something that you can take away from this to focus on? And that is that's something I'm very proud of and I work very hard to achieve. And I think that some of the greatest narrators in the world are not necessarily the best teachers. And something
No.
else I talk about is, and something that I think we have to give ourselves, I consider myself uh, a normal level of talent guy. Like I think I'm pretty good, but I do not hold myself up on there are narrators that I idolize. And sometimes, and I've said this to some of them, when I've heard them speaking, sometimes you need to have the hubris to recognize that you are in the 1% of skill. You are one of the most, you might be one of the 5 most celebrated, successful, world-renowned, brilliant people at this. And you've got to recognize that sometimes that means that your process that you say, oh, I don't bother doing this, I don't need to do this, I think this is a waste of time, whatever. That process may be needed for us humble mortals. And
Mm.
and so if you're in the 1% of skill level, you sometimes have to take a step back and go, how do I help people that are not necessarily granted with that insane inherent,
The instinctual side where they don't necessarily think because it's
even have to
muscle.
think about they
Yeah.
don't think about having technique or process or markup or things like that because they are freakishly talented. I said this to, I had this conversation with Ewan Morton, who I'm friendly with, and Ewan is one of the most talented narrators alive. And he's a Tony-nominated actor. He's an Olivier Award-winning actor. And I'm like, Ewan, I get that you say you don't need to do this, but don't you understand that we're not all Tony nominated Olivier Award winning actors and we don't sit down at a book with that coming with us into the room?
But
So,
they're different skill. They're completely different skill sets. But
yeah.
you brought something up because it made me remember what I missed about in theater. When you have a director, you can let go because
Oh,
the critical voice in my head, I trust the director. I do what they say. I do wait till the end of the show
yeah.
and like frantically pray they were happy. But at least they're nice. I did an audition yesterday. I don't care. I mean, I care, obviously. I enjoy
Right.
the process of auditioning, but I completely forget them afterwards. I'm very good at that.
That's
I
awesome.
I yeah, I do what Michael Kostroff says. I'm not booking the job. Do it for the sake of the audition. But this one I really cared about. And so guess what I did last night? Oh my God. I know who they're going to hire for this. I'm not going to be the person they're hiring. They're not going to like me. I'm so not putting this video out until after this is a done
Huh.
thing, and I'll delete this bit. But but it's the voice in your head, and it's like an ongoing challenge. But you have the benefit of because of the nature of the fact that you're hearing it from other people, you can't get away with doing the bullshit to yourself because
Yeah.
you're the one having to say, don't be silly, don't think like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Well, we do this exercise in class where I call it ACX Idol, and I take two ACX auditions, and the students in the class have to choose, one of the two actual ACX auditions to prep for class using the
Oh,
tools I've given them of how to research a book, etc., etc. And they come in and they do the audition, and then everybody in the class puts on a casting director hat and sends a private ballot to Rich and says who they would have cast in the book. And what is fascinating is there is never one person who is the winner of the book. That
yeah,
somebody will get the most votes, but there has never once been a case in the 13 classes we've taught of this where one person got all the votes. And what does that tell you? It tells you the casting is subjective.
yeah,
And sometimes the other thing is that sometimes there's a tie. And think about the fact that sometimes a casting director might love your audition just as much as the other one,
yeah,
but they can't put out two audiobooks.
yeah,
They've got to make a choice. And there's so much about auditioning that we just have to sort of let go of
yeah.
and do our best, do find out as much as we can about the book. Ask them when you're sent an audition from a publisher, ask them, do you have the whole manuscript I could take a look at? And if I've hardly ever had them say no. Scan the first couple chapters or scan the first chapter to get a sense of tone and the world that you're dealing with and what kind of genre we're functioning within.
It's like
And
a
then,
game. It's like an individual. And the thing is if you want a fair world, don't be an actor. It's not fair. So just accept
absolutely.
it up front. It's not fair. It's
Yeah.
it's 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 and it's not. Somebody said, I was listening again, Michael Kostroff. I was listening to that thing where he said, there's no lucky hat. There's no
Oh, yeah.
like lucky formula or I did this right, so I'm going to duplicate it the next and I'm
Yeah.
still guilty. I'm like, what did I do there where I booked that audition? No, what did I woke up and I got off on this side of the bed today. So maybe if I duplicate that,
Right. Right.
we're
And
humans, we want certainty.
and sometimes the person they pick confounds us. I just saw a book coming out from a major publisher, and I was like, I know the exact person who should be narrating that. And they probably don't even know about the book, but I was like, why isn't this theirs? You have no control, you know.
Yeah, no.
You have no control. The only thing you can do is keep your eye out for stuff for ARCs and announcements and say, "Hey, I see this is coming up. Would you
And
think about
create
me?"
your own work in the meantime so you're taking care of
Absolutely.
yourself.
And
It's
that's
like,
and that's you were talking about dry spells.
yeah.
Um that is so important. I just um I have crafted really great working relationships with authors I already had a relationship with were talking about their friend's upcoming book. And I said to that author, "Do you think I'd be good for this?" And they said, "Yes, let me introduce you." I cold emailed an author because one of my uh, I hate to call her a fan because she's much more than a fan, but I have this like super fan who like scouts stuff for me, and she sent this to me and was like, "This is coming. Why haven't you done? Why hasn't this person done audio?" And I emailed them out of the blue, and we're in the process of doing indie
Yeah.
titles. And here's the thing: you got to remember our indie rate. I think
Hmm.
for most of us, or certainly for once you reach a certain point, once you've done a couple hundred books and you can say to an author, look, I'm a proven commodity, especially I'm a proven commodity within a certain genre. Like I'm lucky in that if my name is on a certain kind of audiobook, it moves the dial for a certain very specific genre audience. Um, and and my pay per hour rate for indie titles is significantly more lucrative than the publisher rate that I get from the big five. So it's important to offset those relationships, and it's important to be finding those people that have a back catalog so
Yeah.
that when you do have a dry spell, rather than panic, you can come to them and say, you know, those 5 books that you have in back catalog that we haven't tackled yet, can we do one?
Yeah, and because
And
a dry spell to me means I don't have any work. And I challenge that thought process because you're a narrator, you're a small business owner, you don't have any work. What, you're sitting back waiting for a boss to give you a job? Because you're a small business owner, you should always be
right.
hustling for work. I don't
And
care how many people you're
and
working for.
yeah. And I think that I will say, in some people's defense, for some of the people that I've been hearing talking about this, I think it is some people who got into this industry. It's been
Yeah,
happening got into this industry a little bit earlier,
they're not
where
used to it.
that indie back and forth thing was not part of their growing process into their success as much. Um, and they've always had consistent work from publishers. And, I mean, I think before you go to publishers, I think having about 25 books under your belt means one simple thing. It means you have learned how long it takes you to deliver a product. It means what your workflow time is. It means you know the vocal stamina required to achieve that workflow. It means you've had time to put together a professional sounding space that is something that they definitely need to hear, regardless of where you're coming to in terms of experience.
Yeah.
And and here's the thing. I have never met a single narrator who didn't say after their first year, certainly 10
Oh,
years later,
yeah,
do you wish you could burn your first 10 books?
yeah.
And we all do. And it's because this art form is so unique and the learning curve is so rapid and so vast in a relatively short amount of time. But I think that 25 number or around about there means you've given yourself space to find you as a narrator and as a talent before you try and sell you. I had I had a student who they are very gun-ho. They've read a million like business nonfiction, how do you sell yourself? How do you do this? Go get them type of books. And they were trying to subscribe that philosophy to this work.
A lot of
And
people are doing that now,
and
and they're making
straight
it
away,
work.
and straight away though, without having more than like five
Yeah.
books, they went and sent all their demos to every single publisher, and their learning curve wasn't ready.
Mm,
I'm not talking about their raw talent, and I'm not talking about the effort they were putting into things. Their learning curve into how to develop their own style and
yeah.
bring words to life was not ready. And a year and a half later, when they tried to get that second listen, when they said, I've really grown, I've been taking these courses, I'm doing this, whatever, will you look at me again? Did not get the reaction that they wanted and did not
Wow.
get the conversation back. And I really do believe, I'm not saying that I certainly wouldn't say you have to do 100 books. And I'm not saying you shouldn't believe in yourself and make the big moves. But I think what you want to do is make sure that you know your first impression is a good representation of where you want your journey to be in terms of your gift and not make that move until you feel confident about
Which
that.
is where the coaching and the relationships and somebody said to me, I always have people reaching out going, can you introduce me to people? And I'm like complete strangers. I don't know them. And they're like,
Yeah.
I was hoping I could buy you a cup of coffee and you could introduce me to a publisher. And I'm like, what good is that going to do you? Even if I could, right? You
Yeah.
want relationships, join all the groups. You learn. I can't tell you how much I learn from other narrators
Oh my God.
every day. And
Absolutely.
coaches, a coach can tell you where you are if you're ready to reach out. It's being
Well,
involved in the game,
and
not just trying to win the game.
and the messages you're sending when you reach out. One of the things I love working on with people is their blurbs,
Yeah,
because you have no idea the number of people that will start their blurb with having founded their own community theater and loving speaking to loving doing bedtime stories for their 3 grandchildren at night. Such and such decided to become an audiobook narrator. And then 4 paragraphs down, it'll be like, with an acting degree from Syracuse. And you're like, the first thing you're selling to me is, and I use the amateur in the word, in the true meaning of the word, which is for love, right? The
right.
first thing you're selling is that you're an amateur.
Yeah,
You're not selling what gives me confidence that this is your calling and your profession.
yeah.
And so messaging can be really important, and the way we present that messaging, you know, if you've come from another aspect of this art that can be applied to this, your learning curve to understand what is unique about audiobooks can be more rapid and can be different, but
Yeah,
it's still a learning curve. I
yeah.
mean, I don't know a single actor who came from television or movies or musicals or straight theater that doesn't come to this and go, "Oh, this is different." And you need to allow yourself the grace of, a lot of people don't give them the safe space to blossom. And give yourself that, and when you feel that the little rosebuds are starting to show, then start waving your flag and shooting your shot, I think.
You just said so. I had a flashback because I came from theater and all that, and in the end burlesque and the stage, and my first my first experience in the booth was my inner critic, and I thought to myself, I can't. How can I stand here 8 hours a day yelling at myself? Because that's what it felt like. Every single word I said, like I'd forgotten how to talk. It
Oh,
sounded
absolutely.
wrong.
I relate to that so deeply. I um am I suffer very deeply from imposter syndrome, very, very deeply, to the point where sometimes it's debilitating. Like, I really am my own worst critic, and the way Rich and I have learned to solve it is I am scheduled within an inch of my life, because if I didn't have to get a certain number of pages done a day
Yeah, I'm the same.
and accomplish that goal, knowing that if I don't do it, it's going to domino and I'm going to miss my deadline
Yeah.
for my next 4 books, then I have to learn to get out of my way, trust the technique, and move forward, and get out of this headspace and into the headspace of the
Oh my
character
God, you are
and
me,
go on the
Joel.
journey. Because
I
I
can't do whole weekends. People are like, take 4 days off and clear. I know my mind doesn't clear. I
no,
go batshit crazy. I have to be
yeah.
busy so that the deadline is more important than the worries.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
he figured out for me that if I am very finely scheduled, and I know what I have to accomplish every single day, I can meet that.
I
Because,
love Rich.
for
Everyone needs a
instance,
Rich.
yeah, for instance,
That's-
when I was recording David Copperfield, I cared so much
yeah.
about doing that service And like to me, that was one of the books that like when I die, I'm leaving this behind. Like that was how I thought of
Yeah.
Copperfield. And I would have recorded one finished minute a day. I would have done that thing
Yeah.
over and over and over and over again. And, you know, and it, I had to find a way to keep moving forward, and I actually did. I still ended up going back and doing some of it over again because I was
Yeah.
like, I can do that better. I can do that better. But you've got to give yourself. I really feel that the only solution to imposter syndrome being the enemy and winning is is structure and support from the
Yeah.
people around you regarding that structure. Um,
Yeah. That's oh, that's lovely. Before this call, I just thought I was a workaholic. So now I'm a structured person that has a plan.
yeah,
But yeah, I love that. And I think that is the reason. I did try days off. I found them so uncomfortable.
yeah,
And just if I have a day off, I have to have a planned agenda of things
right.
I have to
I mean,
get done.
I have to have days off because I have to have a day where I'm not either vocally talking while I'm teaching or
Yeah.
recording. Like I have
Yeah.
to have non-speak days or
Yes,
not
yes,
not
we all
yeah.
do. But
But
you do,
but
I do
those are
admin or cleaning or
exactly. Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Exactly.
and
It's also why I like living 14 minutes from Disney World because Rich can drag me to Epcot and
I've
and
never
I
been to Disney World. I've been to
oh my
Disneyland. My
God.
sister, we're from California. My sister had a yearly pass and we would go to Disneyland like 5 times a week.
Disneyland in a lot of ways. See, Disneyland, I could talk to you for an hour and a half about Disneyland versus Disney World, but Disneyland does get a lot of cool stuff
Yeah.
more than Disney World because Disneyland is primarily California repeat visitors.
Yeah, that's what it
Whereas
was.
Disney World is largely trip of a lifetime foreign visitors, etc. So Disneyland has to keep giving them new shit and new parades and new
Yeah.
experiences to make those repeat people keep coming back. Whereas Disney World, it's very much the classic experience. Anyway,
But the
so
the old school, the Adam ride and
oh
the
yeah.
Peter Pan. Oh, we can't even get me started because we
Oh, I
won't
love
get off
Peter
this
Pan.
call.
Yeah. I met an Imagineer once who gave me the blueprints to the construction blueprints to the Peter Pan's flight, and
Seriously.
I geeked out beyond belief. It was because I was I studied theater design as well while I was in college a lot, and so that was very exciting. Anyway,
Wow.
uh,
Okay, see, you tell me this stuff at the end of the call. Okay. I can't
I
let
don't
you off the hook.
I don't got to be anywhere. I'm
I'm
good.
still imagining a light rose shade with that 70s polyester feel gown for that
Yes, yes,
boat.
flowy, a little
Yes,
flow.
the 70s
Absolutely.
flow. You know the
You've got to try and come. You've got to try and come. It's going to be so fun.
and faux fur at night when it gets chilly on the
Oh,
deck with the glass.
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
obviously we're talking really important work-related stuff. Um, Joel,
Yes.
if you could leave the studio audience
Oh no.
and the
The
people in
stress.
70, 80, 90 years that are going to be watching this and
Thanks.
holding on to every word, one thing that you would want them to remember this conversation by, that you would want them to take in their heart and soul and hold close, what would it be? This is where I'm going to get the tagline, by the way. No pressure.
Two things. Not just one, two. Celebrate what is weird about you and make it your calling card. And find someone who you really admire to be your cheerleader. And if you find
Oh,
that, you are so lucky. Katie Kelgren, until she passed away, was mine. And she truly believed in me. And the thing was that I wanted to be a narrator just like Katie. Katie was brave, she was fearless, she was theatrical, she wasn't safe. Um, she loved character. And to have someone who does the kind of work you want to do tell you that you're on the right path is truly life-changing. And I was so lucky to get that gift from her before she left us, because there's I am a very I am not everybody's narrator. I am not the perfect narrator for every book. I am not the I am not the safe choice very often. Um, I am not the standard sounding narrator. I am not the, neutral alpha male, non-quirky, non-charactery. Uh, when I narrate a book, my stamp is put on it. And she believed in that so wholeheartedly for the period of time that I knew her. And to be told that's okay and that is something to hold on to and to not make yourself gray.
You're the first person well, one person told me that 2 weeks ago. I had a coaching call, and you now. And that I heard what she said, but I didn't hear what she was trying to say.
Yeah.
And that was because I am not I'm not the obvious choice for the things that I want. And with women, they want you to be quirky, in my
Yeah.
experience, and
And
I'm not.
right. And I've said that to, and I found this with a lot of my female students. I've said, don't be that narrator that sounds like 50 other narrators,
And I can't even
because
listen to it. Why would I want to be it?
because they'll just cast one of the 50 other narrators.
Yeah, because they're better at it, because that's who they are.
Yeah, stop trying to be so safe that you're camouflage.
Yeah.
Be you, and figure out what you bring to this material and what you bring to the book.
And back it. It's what you said about having somebody back you.
I show people in class, I show them, like 5 different paintings of still life, like one by Picasso, one by Monet, one a black and white photograph by Ansel Adams, et cetera, et cetera. And I say, these are 5 different bowls of fruit, but each one tells you something very special. Know what your lens is. Know what you want to bring to the work and what your creative voice can add to this material.
And then what PJ says, then be honest.
Yeah.
And if you're honest, you're not.
Yeah. I don't want... I look at it like, in the same way, we wouldn't tell someone watching a movie, who could go to see a movie, well, why don't you just stay home and read the screenplay? Or who goes to see a play, why don't you just read the script? Right?
Mm.
It's because the artist transcends it and turns it into something new. And I believe that's what our job is. I don't believe our job is to be a blank. I believe our job is to be a creative artist who brings the material into a new, special, unique realm.
And that's what burlesque is. I'm sorry. I know for serious actors, if they hear that, they can
No.
But
oh my God,
burlesque,
I'm a big fan of burlesque.
I am inviting you as the audience to forget. That's why my favorite quote is from Cabaret. So the world's disappointing, and here we're all beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm inviting you to have guts, to play, to do things and look at things and be things that maybe you don't have the guts to be and do and look at. And so if I go out there and try to do that vocal fry at the end of my sentences and sound quirky, and I'm not that actress. I've never been that actress. But I think in the endless realm of auditions and building a career, you got to be super true to yourself, to not fall. It's like
Absolutely.
women in acting trying to be thin and getting their face, you have to like be strong.
Oh, yeah. For the first 2 years of my career, I tried to be somebody else. I tried to be standard. I tried to sound like standard alpha male romantic narrator. And it was a complete waste of time.
And
Um,
why would you want Johnny Heller to be standard alpha? I mean, you
Exactly.
listen to Johnny
Exactly.
Heller because of his voice.
Exactly.
He
Yeah.
makes you think of like Chicago and America and
Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
it's like the wine. You know how you taste the wine, you can
Right.
tell what fields it's from,
Yeah.
you can tell, what food was planted in that field and I think in our voices, you can tell all the places you've grown up, all the cruises you've been on, all the upsetting things that have happened are all in your voice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not in standard
Absolutely.
alpha male's voice.
Right.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. You've put me in a very good mood, Joel. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
yay.
And yeah, that gown would be fabulous. And okay, on point. You guys, if you've ever wanted to go on a cruise, this is the one I'm telling you. I'm so like sitting here playing in my mind with like how I could make it happen. Okay, this has been amazing. And I'm so excited to see what you create, whether I can make it or not. I'm just like so excited to see what it becomes because I just feel like it's magic.
Thank you so much.
And
I've had
and
such a great time. It's always so lovely to speak to you. And I love that you don't ask us the standard questions and we have wonderful tangents and creative talks and we dive deep into things that we wouldn't normally, and I think it's wonderful and it's such a special space. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
oh, thank you for joining. It's the best. It's the friends you meet in school when you're too young to know the rules. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And you
absolutely.
become real friends because you talk about real things. And this has been a joy. Thank you so much, Joel.
Thank you, Daniela.
And thank you very much, Rich. We love you, Rich. You're amazing. No, thank you both of you. And thank you for thinking of the cruise. We're all very excited, even those
Oh,
of us that
and
aren't sure
thank
if we're going.
and thanks to all my friends who showed up to support me. I love you guys. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.